recommendations for a slow format. These are just generally good traps, and they're continuous except for Regeki Break, of course. Since slow format basically is you're summoning one monster at a time, as opposed to just swarming the field with a whole bunch of monsters. I'm not saying you still couldn't do that. That's why some of them will be awesome in that format. Let's say your deck is a little slower. Let's say you're playing gadgets, or you're playing Boojins or something. Some of them it makes perfect sense. The idea is to control the duel. Bring your opponent to your game level. Like bring them down to your level, basically. If you only summon one monster per turn, then bring him down to summoning like 1 or 2 monsters per turn. Like slow him down. You know, because Tour Guy is still viable. So right there you can slow that down, because Tour Guys are normal summon, then the effect is a special summon, that's it. Then there's no exceed summoning, so that slows it down. So that slows that game down. There's Diva. There's I've seen the Poseidra, the Atlantean Dragon. I've seen him in action, especially when you use Diva in order to go into him. So technically, Diva acts like an ultimate tour guide, basically, where you can normal summon, special summon, tribute for special effect, and bring out a big 2800 beat stick. So because of that, some of them would be great, because I would slow the game, the combo down. So, that's the idea. It's slow format, and it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be playing decks that have slower combos. You're actually, the best thing to do is take advantage of the slow format concept and slow the duel down on purpose. Like deliberately slow it down. Slow your opponent down so you can beat them down. That's the best way to look at it. Take advantage of slow format. Look at the slow format as your strategy. Your strategy is to slow your opponent down. So what he's playing less cards per turn, and you're taking him down. You know what I mean? Stuff like Great Shogun Shien, for example, limit your opponent to playing 1 spell or trap per turn. Then you got the Shien, the Synchro. Think about that. So you get those 2 on the field, you slow them down. Then you got Summon Limit, slowing them down even more, because it make it harder for you to synchro summon or exceed summon into big monsters that can take your monsters down. Then you're slowing. If you get the idea, just slow your opponent down. You don't have to necessarily lock him out. Like Vanity's Emptiness. Like you don't have to worry about preventing him from playing cards. Just slow down how many cards he plays, and then overwhelm him with your number of cards. Some of them I would like to. I could see it in Chamber, but it depends. Since they don't summon a lot of monsters, they usually will set a Marshmallow, set a bunch of back row, end their turn. So some of them will definitely be a good continuous card for them to slow down their opponent's decks, so that way they can't make a comeback. They'll definitely slow it down from, like, imagine summoning a Dragon Ruler 7-star, then summon a Tuner, and then trying to synchro into Black Wing Dragon to prevent the burn, so that we have a fighting chance against the chain burn. So, which is what you'll normally do. You'll synchro into Black Wing Dragon to go against the chain burn deck. But if they have summon limit, that will prevent you from going into a synchro summon, because you used up 2 summons. It definitely will prevent OTKs that require you to summon multiple monsters. The idea is slow down your opponent's gameplay, make him play slow, and you'll probably you'll play a little bit faster than them. Because let's say you'll summon 2 monsters per turn, and that will give you a fighting, that will give you an advantage, while they're probably limited to summoning only 1 monster at a time. Because there's no point in summoning more than 1 monster if they can't go into their 3rd monster, you know what I mean? There's no point in tour guide into a tour guide and then that's it, and then end their turn. They rather save that for when they get rid of your summon limit. And that's another thing. Make them waste their resources, so that way you take make them waste their resources, so that way, you know, you can take advantage of when they do. Like they'll MST your summon limit, then they'll go into their tour guide play, and then you'll just boundless whatever they summon, or you'll just compulse whatever they summon. So, you know, right there, you know, you put them in a position where they, you know, wouldn't have a response or anything like that. Make your opponent waste their resources, obviously, that's the idea. The name of the game is for them to run out of cards and for you to have the card advantage, right? So that way you can win. Goes in match is good, you know, for the multi-attribute decks like Dragon Rulers and whatnot. It'll slow them down. Against Dragon Rulers, a good card to help slow them down a little bit. I will, and any other wind-based decks, I will recommend Poisonous Winds, because Poisonous Wind will work good against them making Stardust, them using special summoning Tempest, you know, stuff like that, and slowing them down, you know, helps you get the advantage. You know, even something like Shadow Imprisoning against Dragon Rulers, because they can sync into like Colossal Fighter, Red Dragon, Archfiend, Jeweled Red Dragon, you know. There are some 8-star dark monsters, and you can skill drain those monsters. Let's see. And of course, like I said, Goes in Match will help slow people down, their decks. Some decks might be like Bujins, they're all light types, but your opponent might have, you know, a Stroke or a Black Horn. You know, it might have some monsters that are not light types, and if they exceed some into that, and then you play Ghost, and then let's say they summon a Yamada or something, then you play Ghost in Match, then they have to choose between keeping their Stroke on the field or keeping their Bujin, you know, their Yamada on the field, so that way you can slow them down. So this could be used against, you know, like a Bujin deck, for example, or any deck that, you know, might exceed into different attributes. So Goes in Match is pretty good in general, but I like Summon Limit a little bit more, slows things down, just so you can take advantage of the slow gameplay, especially if you have the experience. Skill Drain, just generally good. It'll, you know, prevent the tour guide plays and BLS, and you know, it'll just make monsters, you know, have not, you know, their effects useless. So as a continuous bailer, basically, you just constantly make his monsters useless. Similar to Light Imprison, Shadow Imprison, how those will work. Of course, you can use Light Imprison against the Bujins. Obviously, you could do that if you want. But Goes in Match and Light Imprison will definitely, in a deck, will definitely work great against the Bujins, because it'll prevent them from exceed something into different attributes that will hurt them if they do exceed into something other than light. And then, of course, Light Imprisoning would just, and of course, Light Imprisoning would just prevent their spells. I mean, their monsters' effects from applying. Regeki Break is just good spot removal. You know, you can just get rid of anything, whether it be a monster, a spell, or a trap. It's just generally good. You discard a card in order to activate it. It's worth it when you're permanently getting rid of something that could, over time, be a problem, like a Skill Drain, a Goes in Match, you know, a Summon Limit. You know, these types of cards. It'd be nice to have a Regeki Break to get rid of that, especially when there is no Heavy Storm. So most people are probably playing a maximum of 3 MSTs per deck, and they used to have a Heavy Storm, so that's 4 ways of removing back row. So now you don't have Heavy Storm to get rid of a lot of back row. You know, you can use Regeki Break to substitute for that, since it will work in 2 ways. It'll help you get rid of back row if you need to, or it'll work similar to like a Warning or a Boundless, you know what I mean? Where your opponent summons their best, you know, exceeds into the best monster, and then you just Regeki Break the monster, and then their monster's permanently gone, and then you can go into what you want. So technically, Regeki Break doubles as a Heavy Storm and like a Warning per se, you know what I mean? Because it gives you multiple options. It's versatile, and that's what I like, is that I can do whatever I want. You know, there's times where, you know, my opponent has a 3,000 monster in the field, but then he has a card, he has 1 card face down. It's like, I have to decide, am I going to take that 3,000 and get rid of his back row, or get rid of his monster and worry about his back row stopping me from making, you know, my combo or going for game next turn. So then I got I gotta make a decision. And it's like sometimes it makes more sense. You know what? I'll take the 3,000 since I know I can beat the 3,000 with my monsters. So I'll take the 3,000 and I'll get rid of this back row. And sometimes it's a mirror force whisper. So I made the right move. And these are my cards that I recommend for a slow format, or just any format, because you use these cards to slow the duel down. That way you can, that way you can save your resources and be able to hurt your opponent. And the main thing is you're slowing your opponent down more than yourself, because you're already playing a certain way. Let's say you first turn you exceed into like 2 monsters and then set back row. Then you play summon limit. Now you're slowing your opponent down, and you already head of the game because you're already summoning more monsters than he's going to be able to summon. And these are my recommendations.